Let's practice evaluating variable expressions together. In this particular video, we're going to be going over 12 different practice problems, but for the first 6 here, we're going to be dealing with some fractions. So to evaluate or to solve each of these expressions, we're going to go ahead and take the values of the variables. We're going to go ahead and use substitution or change each of the letters into numbers and substitute those in. And then we're going to go ahead and complete one operation at a time following the order of operations. And then we're going to show all of our work as well. So let's see, for number 1, we have a plus c. Now a is equal to 1/2. So let's go ahead and say this is equal to, and let's plug in 1/2 or substitute that in for a. And then plus c, now c is going to be 2/3, so we're going to change c to 2/3 here. All right, so we really just have one operation here, so we're going to add this 1/2 and 2/3 here. Now we need common denominators here, so when's the first time 2 and 3 meet? Well, I think that's going to be 6, right? So if we're going to go ahead and make that 6 on top and bottom, let's go ahead and just multiply this and say this is going to be times 3 and times 3 top and bottom, and then times 2 times 2. So if we go ahead and do that, we really can see that this is going to be 3/6, and we're adding on this 4/6 here. So if you add 3/6 plus 4/6, that's going to be equal to 7/6. You can leave your answer just like this, or you can write this as a mixed number and say it's going to be 1 and 1/6, but either of these should be okay. All right, let's check out number 2. For number 2, we have the expression c minus d plus a. So let's go ahead and turn this into a numerical expression so we can evaluate it. So let's see, c is going to be 2/3. Let's go ahead and substitute that in. And it's going to be minus d. We know d is going to be 3/8. Let's go ahead and substitute 3/8 in for d. And then a is going to be 1/2. So let's go ahead and add 1/2 on at the end here. All right, so we have two operations. We have subtraction and addition. We're going to go ahead and do subtraction first, just because we're going left to right. And let's see here, when do 3 and 8 meet for the first time? If you're thinking of 24, that is correct. So let's go ahead and multiply this one by 8 and 8 top and bottom to get 24. Let's do times 3 here to get 24 on the denominator. So rewriting this, we have 16 over 24 minus 9 over 24. And let's see here. We also have this plus 1/2 at the end. We're going to leave it alone for now. If you want to turn into 24ths, though, you totally can. And so if we go ahead and subtract these two right here, you're going to see 16 minus 9 is going to be 7. So we really have 7 over 24 and then plus 1/2. Now, instead of writing 1/2, let's go ahead and make this 1/2 into 24ths as well. So let's do times 12 on top and bottom. So that's going to be plus 12 over 24. That's the same thing as a half, right? So if you go ahead and add 7 over 24 and 12 over 24, we should get 19 over 24. This right here would be our answer. I'm actually going to go back and highlight our answer for number 1 as well here. Okay, let's go ahead and see. Let's go for number 3. We have 17 plus 6a. All right, so substituting in here, let's keep the 17. That's going to stay the same here. Plus 6a, so that means 6 multiplied by whatever a is. Now a, it looks like, is 1/2, so we're going to multiply 6 by 1/2. Now between addition and multiplication, what are we going to do? Let's go ahead with multiplication here. Let's do 6 times 1/2. Now on the side here, what is 6 times 1/2? Well, 6 is 6 over 1. Half is 1 over 2. If you multiply here, you're going to get, what, 6 over 2? But that's just equal to 3. So we really have 17 plus 3. And this comes out pretty nice. Nice whole number here, right? So 17 plus 3, that is going to be equal to 20. So that would be our answer. All right, here is number 4. Number 4, we have 12c, which is 12 times c, minus 8d, which is 8 times d. Let's go ahead and substitute some values in here. So we have 12 multiplied by whatever c is. I think c is going to be 2/3. Let's go ahead and write 2/3, substitute that in. Minus 8 multiplied by d. Now d is going to be 3/8. So let's plug in 3/8 in for d. And let's see here, we have 3 operations. Out of these 3, let's go ahead and deal with this multiplication first here. So we have 12 multiplied by 2/3. So let's write 12 as 12 over 1 times 2/3. That's 2 over 3. If you guys multiply here, let's get 24 on top and 3 on bottom. This simplifies down to just being 8. All right, so this is going to be 8 minus, and then we have 8 multiplied by 3/8. All right, between subtraction and multiplication, let's go with multiplication next here. So let's go ahead and write, we have 8 minus, and then what is 8 times 3/8? Well, 8 is 8 over 1, and then 3/8 is just going to stay as 3/8. If we go to multiply here, 3 times 8 is going to be 24. 24 over 8, that's just going to be equal to 3. So we have 8 minus 3 here, and that's just going to be 5. All right, that'll be our answer. All right, let's check out number 5. For number 5, we have 24 multiplied by the quantity of d plus this a squared in parentheses. So let's go ahead and substitute in. Let's write equals. Let's have 24 multiplied by, what's d? Now d is 3/8, so we can go ahead and put in 3/8 inside the parentheses here. Plus a is going to be 1/2. So that's going to be 1/2 raised to the second power. So if you want to use brackets, just because we have multiple sets of parentheses, feel free to do so, or just use parentheses here. All right. Now, inside the parentheses, we have actually two things to do. We have addition and we have a power. I think the power is going to go first here, right? So we have to do this 1/2 squared. Now, keep in mind 1/2 squared is really just 1/2 multiplied by 1/2, and that's equal to 1/4, right? So we have 24 on the outside, multiplied by 3/8 plus this 1/4 on the inside here. I'm going to start writing all my side calculations on the side and not doing it in here because it's going to get a little messy after a while. So let's go ahead and add inside here. So we have 24 multiplied by what? We have 3/8 plus 1/4. So it's 3/8 plus 1/4 is the same thing as 2/8. So if we get common denominators there, then that's going to be 5/8. So we have 24 multiplied by 5/8. And then if we go ahead and figure out what 24 times 5/8 is, this should come out to a nice number, right? 24 is just 24 over 1. 5/8 can just stay as 5/8. Let's see, 24 times 5 is going to be 120. 120 over 8 actually simplifies really nicely here, is just going to be 15. All right, so feel free to pause to take a little more time to do that, but we're going to end up with an answer of 15 here. All right, let's try one more problem where we have fractions. For number 6, let's go ahead and try to evaluate this variable expression. We have 5 multiplied by, and then in here we have c minus a. Now c is the same thing as 2/3. Let's go ahead and substitute in. Minus a, which is 1/2. Let's go ahead and substitute those values in parentheses, and then minus d. d is 3/8. All right, cool. So out of all the choices here, let's go ahead and start with the parentheses. We have 2/3 minus 1/2. When's the first time 3 and 2 mean? I think it's going to be 6, right? So 2/3 is the same thing as 4/6. And then 1/2 is the same thing as 3/6. So we have 4/6 minus 3/6. That's just equal to 1/6. So we really have here, what, 5 multiplied by 1/6. But then we're going to subtract 3/8 afterwards. Okay, so between multiplication and subtraction, let's go ahead and go with multiplication here. So what's 5 times a 6? Well, 5 is just 5/1, and then a 6 can stay as 1/6. And if you multiply here, we're going to get 5/6. So that's not too bad, right? So 5 times a 6, we just said is 5/6. We have to take this 5/6 and subtract 3/8 now. Now, one final step. What's 5/6 minus 3/8? Well, we have these denominators of 6 and 8. When do they meet for the first time? I think 6 and 8 meet at 24, right? So if we go ahead and do times 4 times 4, we're going to get 20/24. And if we do times 3 times 3, it's going to be 9/24. And if you subtract here, 20 minus 9 is going to be 11. So we're looking at 11/24. Cool. This would be our answer. All right, now that we've done 6 different problems dealing with some fractions, let's try 6 more problems, but this time we're going to have decimals. All right, so notice for 7 through 12, A is going to be 6/10, B is going to be 3 2/10, C is going to be 10, and D is going to be 1 96/100. So let's go ahead and substitute first here. So B, we are going to plug in 3.2, or 3 2/10, minus A, which is going to be 6/10, and then plus D is going to be 1 96/100, 1.96. All right, so from left to right here, let's just go ahead and subtract first. We have 3.2 minus 0.6. So for these ones, it might help to write them more vertically. So 3.2 minus 0.6 We're going to have to borrow here. So that's going to be what? 2, and this becomes 12. So this is going to be a 6. And we're looking at 2.6 here. So let's write 2.6 plus this 1.96. And if we go ahead and deal with the decimals here, make sure we keep lining them up, right? So 2.6 is really going to be what? 2.60. And then 1.96 is going to stay the same. So make sure we do line up these decimals. Let's see, it's 6. That's going to be 15. Carry the 1. We're looking at, I think, 4.56. This right here would be our answer. All right, here is number 8. For number 8, we have d plus 7a. So let's go ahead and substitute some values in here. So d is going to be 1 and 96 hundredths. Let's go ahead and substitute that in. Plus 7 times a, that's going to be 7 multiplied by 6 tenths, 0.6. So between addition and multiplication, let's go ahead and do the multiplication first here. Now, 6 times 7 is going to be 42. So 7 times 6 is going to be 4.2. So we really have 1.96 plus 4.2. Okay. Then next we're going to go ahead and just add these two decimals together. So we have 1.96 plus 4.2. So let's go ahead and line up those decimals. 1.96 plus 4.20. Go ahead and add. We're going to get 6 here. 9 plus 2 is going to be 11. Carry the 1. Then we have 6. So it looks like 6.16 or 6 and 16 hundredths. So that would be our answer. All right, let's check out number 9. For this one, we have a, b in the beginning. So it's a times b. Let's go ahead and plug in a is going to be 0.6. B we know is 3.2. So we're going to multiply this by 3.2 to use parentheses to show that multiplication. Plus we have d, which we know is 1.96. And then we're going to divide that by 4. All right, so we have 3 operations to choose from here. Let's start with the multiplication, since that with division are equally important. So let's see here. We have 0.6 and 3.2. So again, let's go ahead and ignore the decimals when we're multiplying. So it's 32 times 6. We need 2 decimal places when we're done. So let's deal with that in just a moment. 6 times 2 is going to be 12, carry the 1. And then 3 times 6 is 18 plus 1 is going to be 19. So we need 2 decimal places. So this is going to be 1.92. 1.92 plus 1.96 divided by 4. Okay, so next let's go ahead and take care of this division. So let's see here. We have 1.96 divided by 4. So this is not too bad because the decimal's inside the dividend here. So let's see, we're going to get 0. Well, 4 goes into 19 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. And we have a remainder of 3. If we bring down the 6 here, 4 into 36 is going to be 9. So it looks like this is going to go nicely, and we're going to get 0.49. So we have 1.92 plus 0.49. All right, one final step. Let's go ahead and just add these 2 decimals together. We don't need to add any decimal places here. Seems like this will be fine, right? So all right, so adding these 2 together, we can just line up the decimals. 1.92 plus 0.49. Let's see, 2 plus 9 is going to be 11, carry the 1. I think we're going to get 14 here, carry the 1. And then we have 1 plus 1 is 2. So I think our answer here is going to be 2 and 41 hundredths. All right, let's check out number 10. For number 10, let's go ahead and substitute first here. So C is going to be 10 multiplied by D. D is 1.96. So I'm going to use parentheses to show the multiplication. Plus we have this quantity of B minus A. That's going to be 3.2 minus 0.6. This whole thing is going to be squared. Okay, so out of all of these, what are we going to do first? I think we're going to start with the parentheses here, right? 3.2 minus 0.6. Now, we already did that over here, 3.2 minus 0.6. So this is going to also be 2.6 here, right? So let's do 10 multiplied by 1.96 plus, and then we have this 2.6 raised to the second power. All right, we have 3 things to choose from here. Out of these 3 things, I think the power is going to go first here. So let's go ahead and say this is going to be 10 multiplied by 1.96 plus 2.6 squared, I'm going to do that on the side here. I'm going to ignore the decimals and just think about this as 26 times 26. And then I'll put the decimals in afterward. So we're going to need 2 decimal places. So 6 times 6 is 36, carry the 3. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 3 is going to be 15. That's our first partial product. Let's put a placeholder. 2 times 6 is going to be 12, carry the 1. Then 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is going to be 5. So if we go ahead and add these 2 partial products together, we have 6, 7, and 6. And don't forget we need 2 decimal places. So I'm looking at 6.76 here. All right, between multiplication and addition, let's take care of the multiplication here. So 10 times 1.96. If you just multiply by 10, we just really slide the decimal once to the right. So that's going to be 19.6. And we have plus the 6.76. Now be careful with this one. We do need to make sure we line up the decimals. So be careful with that. On the side here, 19.60. And then line up the 6 underneath the 9. And then put 7, 6 in the decimal places, the tenths under the tenths and the hundredths under the hundredths. So 0 plus 6 is going to be 6. 6 plus 7 is going to be 13. Carry the 1. Bring the decimal straight down. 1 plus 9 plus 6 is 16. Carry the 1. We're looking at, I think here, a final answer of 26 and 36 hundredths. This will be our answer. All right, let's check out number 11. So substituting in first here, let's go ahead and take this 7 and let's multiply it by whatever C minus D is. C is 10, D is 1.96, so minus this 1.96, and then plus 3.42. So we only have to substitute in 2 things or 2 values in here, okay? Let's start with the parentheses, so let's do 10 minus this 1.96. So let's do 7 multiplied by, let's figure out what that is. Now, we do need to line up the decimal. So 10 is really 10.00. And then 1.96 is going to be 1 and 96 hundredths here. Okay. So if we have to borrow, this 1 becomes a 0. This will become a 10, but we're going to have to borrow again. So it's going to be 9. This will do the same thing, 9. And this one's going to be a 10. 10 minus 6 is going to be 4. 9 minus 9 is 0. 9 minus 1 is going to be an 8. And we need a decimal right here. Just bring it straight down, right? So this is going to be 8.04. And we're going to add on 3.42 afterwards. All right, between multiplication and addition here, we're definitely going to do the multiplication next. So let's go ahead and ignore the decimals here. This is really just 804 multiplied by 7. And we're going to have 2 decimal places in just a moment. So 7 times 4 is going to be 28, carry the 2. 7 times 0 is going to be 0 plus 2 is going to be 2. 7 times 8 is going to be 56. So we need 2 decimal places. So this is going to be 56.28 or 56 and 28 hundredths. And we're going to add on 3.42 or 3 and 42 hundredths afterwards. All right, adding these 2 together here. Let's see here. I'm going to write it down as lining up the decimals, 56.28. Plus, I put the 3 underneath the 6 here, right? Keep the ones place with the ones place. And then 8 plus 2 is going to be 10, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 plus 4 is going to be 7. 6 plus 3 is going to be 9, and then 5 comes down. So I think we have 59.7 here. That'll be our answer, or 59 and 7 tenths. All right, here is one final practice problem. For number 12, we have first substitution here. We have A times C, so A is going to be 0.6. C is going to be 10, so it's 0.6 times 10. That won't be too bad. Plus D, this part might be a little bit more work here. So for D, we have 1.96 divided by 1.4. Okay, so let's see here. Out of all the things we have here, let's start with multiplication. Going from left to right, 0.6 times 10, or 6 tenths times 10 is just 6, right? So we have 6 plus 1.96 divided by 1.4. Now between addition and division, let's do the division next here. So we're going to have 6 plus something. So let's see, we have 1.96 divided by 1.4. Keep in mind that we like the divisor to be a whole number. So let's make this 14 by multiplying it by 10. Let's make this 19.6 by multiplying it by 10. All right, let's slide both of these decimals to the right here. So really this is going to be 19.6 divided by 14. Right, that'll be a little bit easier to kind of think about. 14 doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 19 once. 1 times 14 is 14. If we subtract here, the remainder is 5, and you bring down the 6. Now let's see, 14 times, I think it's 4. 14 times 4 is exactly 56. The remainder here is going to be 0. So it looks like our quotient here, or the answer to the division problem, is going to be 1.4. Finally, if we add 6 and 1.4, keep in mind that we should line up the decimals here. So 6 is 6.0, and then 1.4 can stay as 1.4. If we add here, we're really looking at 7.4 if we keep that decimal in the same spot. So our final answer here is 7 4/10. So there you have 12 different practice problems where we went ahead and evaluated variable expressions given the values. The first 6 dealt with some rational numbers that were fractions, and then the next 6 dealt with rational numbers that were decimal. So hopefully that gave you some good practice on getting more fluent with using all your operations with those as well. If you found the video helpful, please consider giving the video a thumbs up and sharing with a classmate or friend who might also find it helpful. And as always, keep up the great work that you're already doing.